Hello, we are the team number 4 and we are going to present our PIA. For this PIA, we did a research of 6 countries from different continents and we'll explain their culture, factor to do business, way to adapt to the culture shock, etc. For the European continent, we choose France. France's culture is characterized by its history and diversity. The dominant religion is Christianity and the official language of France is French. The French are freedom-loving in all its expression. They tend to have a high sense of patriotism and love to do activities outside their homes. The French are not afraid to talk to others about their thoughts and visions. France has an education system divided into primary, secondary, and university education. Material culture has never occupied in the French historiography of the modern period a place in the far foreground. 3 social classes were distinguished in the social organization, namely the clergy, the nobility, and the common state. Some important things to know are that the French way of negotiating is slow. A strategy widely used by French negotiators is to try to get the other party to initiate questions, thus weakening their position. For the French, price is the last thing to be negotiated. They are not comfortable talking about money. It is better to try to understand each other in French. For a Mexican to be able to adapt to the cultural shock in the process of negotiating with the French, it is important to accept the difference between both countries. In this way, we can reach an agreement and make the business a success. Another way will be to be willing to go out of your comfort zone. As a Mexican, you have to be open to any possibility that comes your way. And last but not least, it will be to stop questioning about everything. Listening to other options, often very different, helps to be more diplomatic and analytical.
In the American continent, we chose Brazil. Well, starting from the culture, Brazil is a multicultural country and receives many migratory people from all continents. And it is also a place with a lot of miscegenation. Brazilians are characterized by being a very relaxed people who place a high value on enjoying life. Also, the majority of Brazilians profess the religion of Christianity. The language Portuguese is considered the official language of the country. Brazil has many historical heritages. For example, the most famous one is the Christ the Redeemer in Rio de Janeiro and the city of Ouro Preto in Minas Gerais. If we are professional Mexican who want to do business with people of Brazil, we might consider that the negotiation process of them are slow. They don't like to give a lot of information, but also at the same time, they provide confusing information to the other party. We should not have an arrogant attitude and don't put them in a lot of pressure. We have to avoid any uncomfortable situations at all costs. We can adapt ourselves to those multicultural shocks while negotiating by being prepared with the strategical tactics for negotiate because Brazilians tend to haggle over prices a lot and also they complain a lot about everything when they are in disagreement with something. We must have a lot of patience.
Well, now I will talk about Japan and its behavior when it comes to negotiating. First of all, Japan is a country with a lot of tradition and culture. The culture of Japan is the result of a historical process that began with the waves of immigration from the Asian continent and the island of the Pacific Ocean, followed by a strong cultural influence from China. In Japan, education is compulsory for the primary and secondary levels. Virtually all students go to high school, which is voluntary, and students can choose 4 subjects that really help them in their life project. Japanese education has always been one of the best quality in these years. It is very impressive to see how prepared the new generations of that country are. Well, we continue with the aspects to understand about the negotiations. The Mexican has not always been late, since it's not so important for us. But in Japanese culture, being late is a very serious lack of respect, and you want to make that person understand that their date didn't make enough for you. Then, the way in which a Mexican professional will have to adapt to the cultural shock in the process of intercultural negotiation. The negotiator must adapt to the way in which the Japanese engage in a formal conversation and negotiation, as well as the things that are disrespectful for them, as not to ruin their matches. For example, a huge present in a negotiation, it seems like a lack of respect and some other things.
Oceania continent, New Zealand. New Zealand have a protocol quite similar to Western countries. However, these are much more friendly and informal. Normally, invitations to dinner are considered as meeting more for socializing than for doing business. New Zealand, like most countries, celebrates Christmas and Easter and its traditional celebrations, Auckland Folk Festival. In New Zealand, 54.7% of the population follow Christianity. Its history has a mix of Maori culture, the first people to inhabit the country, and European culture. Besides that, the Maori language is together with English of the official languages of the country. The main aspects you should know if you are a professional Mexican who wants to do business with people of those nationalities. In New Zealand, appointments are necessary and punctuality is appreciated. Among the most marked characteristics is the wonderful people. We can highlight their receptiveness, good humor, informality, politeness, and mainly their love for outdoor activities and network. The way in which a Mexican professional will have to adapt to the cultural shock in the process of intercultural negotiation. New Zealand ranks in the top 5 countries for ease of doing business. Having insight into the investment environment and local knowledge of the legal accounting and tax framework is critical to success. The idea is to show ourselves in the same way to make negotiation a genuine encounter.
African continent, Egypt. Egypt is one of the oldest civilizations stated to be around. It's known for the Sahara, Nile River, and Great Pyramids. Egyptians are friendly, very accepting, and open-minded to other cultures and countries. The majority of 90% of Egyptian people identify as Muslim, and the rest is Orthodox Christian and Christian. The education system is divided primary from ages 4 to 5, primary from 6 to 11 years, secondary from 12 to 17 years, and tertiary education from 18 forward. They are known for their stonework. There's 2 social groups, wealthy elite and the Western educated upper middle class. Main aspects you should know if you're a professional Mexican who wants to do a business with these people, those nationalities. Egyptians are like long-term business relationships. They're also known for their hard bargaining, maintaining a positive attitude. It's important to keep a positive negotiation. Negotiators are slow and prepare yourself to make several trips. Negotiation rounds are used in Egypt rather than discussing the whole negotiation and sitting. So being patient is the key. So the way in which a Mexican professional would have to adapt to the cultural shock in the process of intercultural negotiation. As a Mexican negotiator, we need to adapt and be patient. Mexicans, we like to get things done fast, but we have to understand that Egyptians negotiators are slow, keeping both parties happy and have a win-win situation for both parties. If not, it could jeopardize the business deal. European continent, Italy. Italy is known for its art and monuments. Italians move their hands a lot, so as a negotiator, we need to understand their body and language. They speak loudly with great energy. The predominant language is Italian, and their most popular religion is Christianity. So education is free and mandatory from 8 years to 14 years. The best materialistic culture in Italy is known for its art and the leaning Pisa Tower. Also for their foods like pizza, spaghetti, etc. It's divided in 3 different social classes: lower class, middle class, and upper class. So main aspect you should know if you are a professional Mexican who wants to do business with people from those nationalities. Meetings are usually introductory meetings, and they consider it's important to be a good speaker. Some speakers make them feel uncomfortable, and being quiet is viewed with suspicion, and they might not trust you. And last, always be punctual and dress elegantly. They really pay attention to those shoes. So the way in which a Mexican professional would have to adapt to the cultural shock in the process of intercultural negotiation. As a Mexican negotiator, it's not that hard to adapt to the Italian way of doing negotiations since we're very similar in culture. Only difference is Italians are long and direct speakers. Italians like to talk when they finish negotiations. They tend to talk about art, music, and especially soccer since it's a common thing both cultures love.